Okay, I'll call the meeting of council of October 4th, 7 p.m. to order. A quorum is present, and the meeting has been duly constituted. The first order of business is approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion and a second? Any discussion? Peter, I see all these items are on the agenda, the on-table items.
Yeah, so there's an on-table with respect to the resolution section of our agenda.
Yep.
9A.
9A.
9A. So that's
good. And Shauna just pointed out as well that the other ones are good, and those are in the closed anyway, so we don't have to worry about those. Okay, so I had nothing.
There's one additional basis upon which we're closing the meeting, and that is 90 sub 1 sub I, which is legal advice.
Legal, okay.
90 sub 1 sub I, not
Yes.
E? Okay. I, okay.
Yeah, I think we did say before that we would call out these bases so that someone doesn't have to look them up.
Yeah, no.
Can we write those out in future? Just,
we'll talk,
I mean, it makes it a little longer, I know, but just, rather than obfuscate the thing, just write down what they are.
Okay.
Okay, good. So, motions on the table, all in favour and opposed, that carries.
Too late, passed.
No, we can have a secondary motion.
It's not a big deal. It's just a misnamed report. It was called an information report at 8AI, and it should be a request for decision report.
That's fine. Well, when you announce it, say this is an information report that requests a decision.
Okay.
Okay, public participation. We don't have a list, but we'll waive the list. Mr. Cox. You have 2 minutes to speak on an item on the agenda.
Good evening. The Lions Bay Historical Society, we had one of our meetings this morning, and during the meeting it was brought up that somebody had seen seniors waiting for the bus out over here by the telephone pole, and they looked like they should be sitting down. And we followed through with our unwritten mandate of trying to return things to the village whenever possible. As you know, and I'll mention, we've done the brown splacks at each end of the Centennial Trail. We've done the bench in Wade Park for one of our members. And now we would like to supply a seat for the bus passengers down at that point. So before we ventured any further, we thought we should pass it by you to see if you had any thoughts on that, if you wanted us to.
Thanks. Council?
Personally, I think it's a great idea, and I think that everything that's been done in the past has been done very, very well, and I think it's an enhancement to the village, to the actual quality of the life in the village. I think it's very important to enhance our bus service as much as possible, especially for people like me.
Fred?
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's something that we would very much welcome. However, there's always a however. TransLink is very jealous of their bus stops and what happens at them. The bus stop, the seat that you see down under the underpass is in fact the school bus stop, not the TransLink bus stop. That's all by way of saying that Peter and I are actually meeting with the CEO of TransLink here on Friday.
Oh, good.
And one of the things I will be raising is them funding some proper bus stops for us at their official stops. So that's the one here,
Right.
which depending on what happens with the parking plan that's going to be dusted off for next summer, might actually move down to here, close to where the fire hydrant is, because it's flatter.
I see.
But that's all sub judice. We'll have to decide. The other stop, as you know, is at the more or less at the bridge there on the Isleview access road,
Right.
and the third one is at Brunswick. So we're going to be talking to him about that. So we'll take you up on that with the proviso that we don't quite know what that might look like yet.
If they will look after it, that's good too.
Yeah, that's also good. Exactly.
All right, that's
good.
it.
Next question.
Yeah, sure.
Tony, have you heard of any particular needs at other locations aside from just out here, like perhaps at Brunswick or Kelvin Grove?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
It was just that it was just brought up. They had noticed two people standing. They looked like they could.
So this is not a new thing to me, and I've noticed people too. And I will say that if we can get TransLink to do bus stops, we may take you up on the bench somewhere else. sort of a midway stopping point, just to sort of sit and contemplate matters
Perfect.
somewhere in the village.
Sure.
There's any number of points. In fact, I ran into a guy the other day, a visitor, asking, where can I go and sit and look at the view? I said, well, you have to know somebody because the views are all, up on people's decks. There's nowhere to actually sit and look at the view.
Buy one of these new lots and build a house and
Yeah.
you can sit there all you
You're
want.
welcome. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, thanks, Tony.
Thank
That's
you
great.
very much.
Good night.
You don't want to have a chance?
No, we're not gonna have.
Oh, okay, well, thanks for coming then. Okay, fantastic. So we'll move on to delegations. There being none, we'll move on to the minutes, approval of the minutes of the meeting of September 6th. Can I have a motion and a second? Any adds, subtracts? I had a few. Shall I start? Under 7A on page 4 of the meeting package, I don't know that we approved it. I think we did something else like adopt. And the distinction is important for
Being adopted.
Page 4.
Sorry, you're saying approved as opposed to
yeah.
adopted?
So in the sentence there is approved. Here it says we adopted it. So we resolved the adoption. The resolution was to adopt. Does it really matter that we say
I don't think.
I think we said we liked it very
we're getting
much.
into
I don't think it
semantics
makes-
and
the resolution is that it's adopted because various funding sources may want to see an adopted IMP.
Mhm.
Okay, fine. 8A1, it's CFO Rook.
oh yeah, CAO.
Just a point, I noticed that on page 7 under D2 we've got an audio timestamp. Can we have a few more audio timestamps? Not that I went and actually checked this, but I'm not going to listen to an hour and 24 minutes to find something.
No, there's one at 52 minutes on
Where's
page
that?
5.
I couldn't find it.
Wait,
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, scratch that request. Under V5, Trees, Views and Landscapes Committee, same page. Should we not rather say Miss McNichol had brought to Council's attention because she mentioned it in her public participation piece? I don't want somebody reading these minutes to say, why did a resident / member of staff get to speak at a council meeting?
this was during public participation.
Missed that part.
It
Sorry.
was public participation.
Yeah, that's when she said it. Okay, scratch that. That's fine. And I had nothing. I have one thing that will come business arising, but nothing else.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, so that actually results in one small change. Can we adopt as amended, or do we need to see it again?
No, you're just approving the minutes as amended.
Okay, so the motion is to approve as amended, and it's seconded. All in favour? Opposed? That carries. So business arising, I had one, if I may, and that is, I just wanted to check with you, Peter, under 10 bylaws, that where we are with the loan authorization bylaw now, it has been sent to the Inspector of Municipalities.
Yes, and I'm pleased to advise that it has come back as approved from the inspector, so legally we are ready to go put it to the people.
Okay, good. And you say that rather blithely, but just if the rest of council doesn't know, that wasn't a slam dunk. That took some fairly serious amount of back and forth, right? In terms
It was a good exercise in consultation with the ministry and getting to where we had to get. So
It's
it
a
all worked out.
process. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
process that you have to go through.
okay, good.
They were. I will add that she did. The person that I was dealing with commented and thanked us for the amount of consultation that we did prior to submitting, prior to taking the bylaw to council and then submitting it to them, because sometimes they do get such bylaws plunked on their desk and they look at it and go, oh, we can't approve this. If only they had talked to us ahead of time. So it's always wise to talk to them ahead of time.
Okay. You seem to have done this before.
So job well done.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Congratulations. No, I mean, it's just so much easier to do it right the first time than to try and do it right the second time. Okay, so there's no unfinished business. We'll move to staff reports. Public Works Manager, Nai, kick us off.
First report is regarding the award of the contract for the Bayview Road and drainage design. And the recommendation is that ISL Engineering Land Services be awarded the engineering design work for Bayview Road and drainage, and that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute contract documents in accordance with the ISL proposal. On the 2nd of September, we went out for request for proposal for the design work for Bayview Road and the drainage system. We received 3 proposals, and based on the criteria documented within the RFP, staff evaluated those proposals. Price was a factor, and all 3 proposals came in over the budget amount. The first was 85% over, the other 22%, and the last 17%. ISL was found to be the most reasonable and well-written proposal, as well as being the lowest cost. So, hence the recommendation that we award to ISL. The additional cost over our budgeted amount is estimated at $3,200, and the funding is within our engineering services envelope, i.e. we will fund the difference through operations, if council chooses.
Thanks, Council.
Do you have any background on ISL? Like, who are they, where are they? And
ISL is a company that's been around for a fair bit. We've used them heavily.
Fine.
West Van has used them heavily. They just recently designed the 22nd Street intersection, the lights, redesign of the water main, drainage system. So, pretty heavy
22nd at
contract.
Marine.
No, 22nd at Queens.
Oh, there. Oh,
Yeah,
there.
brand new traffic light.
Brand new traffic
That
light
whole
there.
corridor was redone. All of 22nd was redone. The
Yeah, I know. I drive it
water and
daily.
sewer all the way up and down.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
or 21st, sorry.
20. I was going to say it's
Yeah.
21st where they did all that curb work and.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Depends, 21st or 22nd, when you're going up or coming down.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I do both every morning and every afternoon because my
No,
kid goes to PJ.
The mayor's right, it's 21st Street.
Yeah.
So they did the design work for the water mains, the road, everything.
Now, the scope of the work that they propose.
Yeah.
Just give it a sense of that. I mean, obviously the drainage and the map, the sort of diagram over shows what we're looking at there.
Yeah.
What
so-
about stuff like road cambering, road pinning, reinforcement, all that stuff?
So geotechnical is included, as is CCTV of the existing culverts to identify potential problems with the culverts. They'll be looking at turning radius for a truck, a W20 truck, which is just slightly under a semi. They will be looking at road creep. It was specifically mentioned in the design, the scope.
Right of way, as in encroachment recovery.
Negative. They will be looking at the drainage and where to put that.
Okay, so it's not necessarily in the exact current alignment.
It's not a full survey. It could be in the exact. We'll see what happens when the design comes in. So,
Okay. Are you fine with this not going to the IC for review, given that we've got 2 highways guys on the IC? In other words, are you comfortable recommending this to council?
I'm comfortable recommending to council based on my experience with ISL.
Okay, I mean that's good enough for me. The only other question I had was on the infrastructure planning grant. Are we going to apply for
This project does not qualify because we are planning to do the work in this calendar year. So we would have had to apply for this in 2015 through the program.
I mean, the whole problem is this IPG program it's chicken and egg,
Mm-hmm.
which is a bummer because, a $15,000 project they will fund up to $10,000 of.
Absolutely.
But so you're aware of that, and this is not available to us.
No, we checked with them. The CFO actually phoned them and found out. So we're well armed. And have all the knowledge and information we need so that when we do our budget process this year, the next round of projects for
We-
design
we are,
will
yeah.
submit for IPGs.
It's going to take it, yeah, exactly. And I'm glad to hear you say that explicitly, because it's good to know that I mean, these are grants for the asking,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not individually big, but they make a big difference to us. I mean, 10,000 of $27,000 project is not insubstantial. Okay, good. So there's a recommendation on the table, which we will take as the motion. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favour? Opposed? That carries. Thanks, Nye.
Thank you.
Next.
Oh, me.
Yeah.
This is your report, Shauna.
My report.
Go ahead.
I'm prepared to speak, but I can.
Well, if your name's on it, you have to. I think it's in our bylaw. Kidding. Well, there's no need to go through everything, obviously, so just give us a sense.
The two bylaw enforcement officers provided a report to Peter, and I put together, all these bullet points are basically a combination of the two reports, and it's just their thoughts on what they think that we should change with our process.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the report, there's some statistics in 2015 and 2016.
Okay. Good, thanks. Council?
I'll just add that Shauna did, went and looked up, you see some of the comparisons in terms of fines from other municipalities in the section at the top of
Yeah.
page 2 of the report. So she checked on those to see what those look like as they had been identified without the actual comparison numbers from the bylaw officers. So she did that.
Okay, good. Well, yeah, it's a substantial difference, actually.
So this is receipt of the report, or is this discussion of the report?
Well, we discuss it and then decide whether we're going to receive it.
Okay.
So, feel free.
Okay, so I have some concerns about some of the comments about where parking stickers need to be placed in vehicles, and the fact that they want to start finding people if the parking stickers are not placed according to what, and although I agree that we need to have a spot to put the parking decals, and most of us do it, there's lots of people that don't do it, and they do it for various reasons. Okay, my wife, for example, does that. She puts it in the top corner of her windshield rather than the bottom because it blinds her vision when she's driving. And that's why, and that's a very valid reason. And so I don't like that we are not to be compared to North Vancouver or West Vancouver for parking fines, parking violations and stuff like that. We are still a small village of Lions Bay based on mainly residences, not businesses that are attracting customers. And so we need to pay attention, pay mind to that. And the bylaw enforcement officers, although it's an important role in a beachside community like ours in the summertime, we need to pay attention to the fact that most of the park, a lot of the people are our residents still, and we need to pay attention to that. And so I agree that we need some rules, but I don't know that to that extent.
Well, yeah, I mean, I noticed some of these seemed fairly draconian as well. I would suggest that many of these recommendations will either be superseded by or encompassed within the new parking plan. So, a decal design and, where it gets placed.
There's one there as petty as they want a form for a witness statement. All you need is a piece of foolscap paper and you've got a form for a witness statement. It's not complicated.
Well, there's actually some good logic behind having a prepared statement that's available on our website, for example.
Well, yeah.
We should, I'm planning
Okay.
to create some of these forms that they're talking about because they're helpful in terms of addressing people's minds to certain things when they're filling out something.
Yeah.
So they can think about whether or not, the person had shoes on or whatever, right? So it does help focus people's minds on, instead of just having a blank piece of foolscap.
Yeah.
Sometimes
It's
people
just,
blank
it's a
out.
small point because I do so much of it that we
Yeah.
don't even, we've trashed all the forms because they just don't work. We just take them. We sit down just like the RCMP and we just handwrite them. Simple as that.
Yeah, well, it's certainly, any form where you're gonna take that kind of information, you need to have a big section where you can just freehand, write,
Yeah.
whatever,
Right.
but
No.
it does remind
That's
you
just
to
my,
ask.
it's just my comment. It's just
Yeah.
a.
No, it's valid. As I say, the parking aspects it's almost uncanny. I know you guys haven't seen the next iteration of the parking plan, which as I think I told council, I intend to bring it in late November. But a lot of this is addressed. The thing that I was interested to see was a lot of stuff about dogs, rabies certificates and animal control. And do we have a dog problem that I'm not aware of?
Well, I think to some extent that reflects one of the officers' background and
Clearly, yeah. I got that, yeah.
passion.
Yeah. Animal shelter, up to 3 dogs for law-breaking dogs.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
So some of the stuff we have to take with a pinch of salt. I mean, this is verbatim of what they. I said, "Are dogs a problem?" Other than my dog. Okay, so that's good. Significantly fewer tickets this year than last. What's the reason for that?
Well, we haven't. This is a preliminary
Yeah, but even if we triple
compilation.
number,
But yeah, okay. So I think to begin with this year, we're probably a little bit slower off the mark.
because of weather.
Because of weather, in part, yeah, we had the first few weekends were not very nice.
Right.
So the other aspect of it was that I think the message that the marching orders that I gave to the bylaw officers was to start with a warning. Just we want compliance. We're not out to find the heck out of people. We want compliance. That's what we're after. So if we can get it through warnings and other means, education, then that was the original intent, how we started off. So
I think that's good. I think these numbers reflect a better intent.
Then that's a win in that case.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think these numbers are a fair reflection of what ought to have been handed out. Although, I mean, obviously there were occasions when tickets were issued that shouldn't have been issued, but
Even
that's
so.
going to happen in any municipality. So.
Well, the ones that I heard of, where people complained they shouldn't have gotten a ticket, they should. For example, parking in a cul-de-sac or doing other egregious things.
Yeah. And there's ideas in here that we're going to revisit, and we're going to come back with certain things that need to be fleshed out, so that we're that much more in tune with things, and that they have a better understanding of what we want to achieve next year.
Yeah, I think this is good. There's some pretty meaty suggestions here. Okay, so the recommendation is to receive the report. Do we want to add anything to instruct staff to act on it, or does that just happen automatically?
I think we'll review this in due course. We've still got a bunch of, we're just in the process of sending off unpaid tickets to collections. So we had to get the information from ICBC, and then we sent it out to collections. So Sean is doing that.
Okay.
And we'll continue to work this forward, and it'll dovetail into whenever the parking plan comes back.
I complain about a couple of items, but the reality is the report itself, for the most part, is pretty good.
Well,
There's
that's
a
exactly
lot
the
of
point.
detail
Right?
there. Yeah.
You had some issue with some of the things.
Yeah,
That's the point of it. It's a good report. It doesn't mean we have to agree with everything. Okay, so we'll take the recommendations in motion. Can I have a second on that? That's for receipt of the report. Any further discussion? So I'll call the question. All in favour? Opposed? That carries. Thanks, Shauna. Okay, so we're moving on to accounts payable list. Is Pam going to come in for this?
No, actually, she's working away, and she's got to go somewhere. So she said that we'll make notes of anything that needs addressing, or if you need an answer, then we'll come back with that. So.
Yeah, I mean that's a bit inefficient because some of them can be done with I've got that taken care of. But all right.
Well, yeah, she thought that she'd probably have to look up anything you're asking about anyway.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Does anybody want to go first? I'll take that as an invitation for me to start. So, first page, the CN Railway properties. We're paying them $2,400 per crossing. Is that just their standard maintenance fee? That wasn't any work that needed to have been done. The reason I ask is there's a huge. I didn't know you could get a pothole in a railway crossing, but there is one at Kelvin right now.
Sorry, how far down the list are you?
CN Rail, so
It's
that's,
1, 2,
023
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
570.
I see, okay.
Yeah, those are the annual.
Standard annual fees, yeah.
That's right.
Okay. A little further down to going to by the payee, Shiv G Fayez, refund utilities overpaid, $2,200. What's a utilities overpay?
Sorry. The,
Oh, actually, the check number is right. It's 581. That's the consecutive.
okay, all right. I'm not sure. I'll have to
I
check.
mean, we don't bill anybody that amount of utilities being water. So can I hear about that one?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this sort of makes me think I should be signing checks, because then I could get comfort on these things. Okay, moving on to 613 ALS Canada metals testing for water, $4,000. Is that an annual number now, or is that every time we run a metals test we pay that?
No idea. I don't see the billing for metals testing. It's
Who
just,
approves it?
it comes through finance. So,
But is there a PO? In
No.
other words, how does finance know that that number is good if you don't approve the invoice?
well, there are standard testing that we do, right? So there's a regular schedule for our testing. We don't do any.
yeah, I know what the testing's for, but
Addition.
how does finance know that 4,000 is a good number?
I don't even know what METSL
Well,
is.
they will get invoices from ALS based on what our staff take in.
Yeah, okay. The point is, ALS won't double invoice. How do we know that ALS? In other words, is this 4,000 number what you would expect? Because you don't know how often that is, right? Is that monthly, quarterly?
That the I don't know how often it is primarily due to my newness here and
Yeah.
not seeing these bills. So this
Yeah.
is one of the ones that I'll be asking Pam and Haley to
Yeah.
forward to me for review.
Now that will all change when we start issuing POs. So you will, correct me if I'm wrong, Peter, you will issue a PO to ALS testing, and they will invoice us against that PO, and the PO will be for a certain budgeted amount.
It
Right?
depends on whether or not we want to go with standing POs, which is another way of doing it. So you would provide them with a standing PO number that they register and put on every invoice, and you're not creating a PO for every test.
No,
Right.
it would be an annual PO or
Yeah.
something. And once they reach a cap, then something's gone wrong.
Absolutely, but even
Okay.
then, when you do that,
think
the
so.
invoices should be reviewed as they come in, so, I'm
And that will
hoping
start happening.
that will start happening,
Okay,
correct.
That's good enough to me.
So metals is misspelled there too. by the
It's just
way.
metals,
Yeah.
yeah. So on the next page, page 22 of the package, the first check, 629. These ones where we're doing building permit deposit returns,
Mhm.
should we not be suppressing the name of the payee? Isn't that a privacy issue? There's several like that.
I don't think so,
Okay,
but I'll check on that.
I'm just raising the issue. I don't necessarily know that I would like the whole world to know that I applied for a building permit and paid a deposit and had it returned. I think. Don't know.
Well, the reality is the record would reflect what property, what the address was and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but
anyway,
that
so-
information is not public. Nobody can come in here and ask for a schedule of building permits, or can they?
I don't know why they couldn't.
Yeah, they probably could, but we would suppress certain
what
information.
It'd be an FOI request and it would be,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Just in the interest of, if we should be protecting people's privacy there, even I don't want to know who these people are. I want to have, Lions Bay property owner in there as a placeholder.
Okay, I'll check on that.
Okay, good. A more generic question, all to do with these municipal grant payments, halfway down the next page. Are we on track for the Play School Society's refund of the pro rata amount that they didn't use, based on their folding?
I know Pam's been in contact with them.
Okay, that's good enough.
I think there's now discussion about them considering having a before or after school care come January, so I'm not sure where those discussions are at,
Okay.
but we can update you next meeting if you like.
Check number 717, Triton Automotive. We bought some jack stands for 106, and then a month later, also to Triton Automotive. Check number 745, he brought some more jack stands for 200.
There were a purchase of jack stands, and they were incorrect.
Ah,
The
different
incorrect
models.
model is,
Okay.
yeah, so,
Because there's no way that you could buy 4 or 2 or 1 jack stand for those two numbers, but okay, different models, that's
yeah.
the only
And
explanation.
I'm not sure if the credit would show up on here, or this is just
I think
accounts
this will be
payable.
checks over.
Yeah.
That's fine. Check number 772, dispatch internet, $308. I don't know how often this is charged. Is this in addition to our normal telecoms bill?
So 7,
772,
Tell us.
Page
Dispatching.
page 26. Yeah.
That's through the fire hall, isn't it? Whereas the regular business one is through Shaw, I believe.
Exactly. So why do we not just have a cable taking our internet across to the firewall?
I think that's dictated by Surrey Dispatch and Ecom rather.
I don't think they care who our internet service provider is.
they
Oh,
do
yeah.
They
actually.
might, they would actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's all part of the dispatch radio programming and,
Well, then it's not internet, then it's a private line.
no, it's not.
Internet's internet. Who provides is
No,
irrelevant.
it's voice over internet protocol dispatch. So dispatch is done via internet, via VoIP. You know, VoIP service, or you can have a dedicated line, or you can have just a regular phone line, depending on where you are in the province. So most departments these days, if they're anywhere near a decent internet service provider, then they're operating on VoIP. So it would be all tied in with the way the fire department is dispatched from Ecom. So it is important, and they do care. I can tell you it's quite complicated when you get down to it.
Yeah, I mean, I know. I go to the ecom meetings.
Yeah, well, I'll just wait till you start talking to radio consultants and
Yeah.
about all the details of these things.
I mean, it's not a lot of
It's pretty
money.
intricate.
It's just, it's more a sort of, it seems to me that somebody decided at the fire department to call and tell us to get internet when we already have internet.
No, this
No, there's a
isn't.
difference, there's quite a difference in internet services too, it depends on what they're supplying.
You're talking to the guy who wrote the book, so I know. Okay,
If you like, we'll see
It's more-
further detail with respect to this and come back.
that is more a
with-
question for the
with
chief than
details.
for Pam, obviously. So that moves on to my next question around check number 789, these ecom radios. Then there's a credit ecom, yet we paid the credit, and then there's more ecom radios, 5,600, total of $10,000. Is this an annual thing? Is this the... I know from the days when I did sign checks that there were a lot of checks signed for radios. Ecom radios and BC radio service. We spent tens of thousands a year on radios.
So what this relates to, I believe, and I'll double check, but I believe this relates to the way in which we get billed for the services that Ecom provides, and it's based on number of radios.
Yeah.
So
Oh, so it's more than just the radios themselves.
It's not
It's our
just-
levy, it's,
yeah, it's the
yeah.
levy, it's the dispatch fee, they sort of base it on the radio count.
Okay.
So there's more to it than
Yeah, I mean, I
what
know.
it looks like.
I mean, the question is, do we need to be part of Ecom Surrey and Bowen? That's a more technical question, which will form part of the fire services review one day. But okay, that's good. That's all I had. Anybody else? All good? So the recommendation is to receive the report, I believe. Is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll take that as the motion and a second. Thanks. And any further discussion? All in favour? Opposed? That carries.
So before we go any further, on Nye's report, I see that it also says to be received, but that should be approved. What did we actually do?
We took the recommendation as the motion, and the recommendation says, I think what we wanted it to say.
It says it's a two-part,
Yeah.
yeah.
be awarded the contract and that we execute the documents.
So we didn't actually receive the report. Do you want to do that too? Or the upshot was that we actually.
It doesn't matter, it's, as long as we've got the two-part recommendation as the resolution.
As the motion, yeah. Motion,
Okay,
second motion.
that's fine.
You good with that? Okay, good. Okay, so we'll move on to global update from Peter.
Okay, so this just confirming that we've arranged and are in the planning processes for a town hall meeting on October 13th at 7 p.m. And that will be to discuss the infrastructure master plan and the loan authorization bylaw. And we have a direct mail information brochure going out to every resident and taxpayer in Lions Bay and beyond Lions Bay, providing them with information about the infrastructure master plan and the 5-year priority work plan and the loan authorization bylaw, and inviting them to the town hall on the 13th. That's being printed now, and we'll be putting it hopefully in the post office boxes of everybody on Friday. So people
Will it
have
arrive in time?
Well, hopefully people will have it on Friday for those who live in the village.
But this will be stamped mail, right?
Yeah, they still just everything that's
They don't send it
Lions
into
Bay.
Vancouver and come back?
no.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They sort
They'll
it there and then?
Not
Yeah.
the local stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah they have local.
How does it get franked?
I mean,
How does the stamp get cancelled?
I'm sure they have a machine.
Yeah.
We have a machine.
No, not the stamp itself. The postmark.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not
They
up
must
on
have
these
a
things.
machine. From what I've heard, it's just the mail person is gonna do
Put
what he
it-
needs to and put them right into
put
the
them in the
mailbox.
Well, for a
So-
90-cent stamp. Seems
Yeah,
a bit excessive.
No, it's actually going to be $1.72,
20.
I think,
Really?
or 27, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I thought it was
Yeah.
20 something.
You can't print it on tissue paper or something?
It is on recycled paper. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So, I mean, I'll just point out that this is in 10 days' time. You know, we're not. This is not some hypothetical date in the future.
9 days, actually.
9 days.
Yeah, so we've been looking forward to that, and there's also something on our website that links to a poster that invites people to.
And what about posters around the village on sandwich boards?
They're up.
Yeah, well, I think
They went up today
Oh, good.
I haven't seen them.
Okay.
Where are they?
at all of the notice boards.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Readable as you drive past?
No.
No, those are for walking past. You're not going to see stuff on a notice board as you drive past.
The people who walk in this village and read notice board, I can name on the fingers of one hand.
I tried to slow down and read the notice board as I pulled away last week, and as I didn't come to a complete stop, but somebody tried to pass me on the corner right here, just like,
Yeah, no,
whoa,
you-
where did it come from?
But
So
that's
it's
why-
not a good idea
That's
to
why
try
we're
and
doing the
read
direct
notice
mail.
boards
It's called distracted
as you're
driving.
driving. Yes, that's right. Yeah, I didn't say any of that. I was just kidding.
No, I know.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a reason that I wanted a poster printer, and the posters were to be printed out 2 feet by 3 in very big letters, not necessarily for drive. They need to be seen while you're driving, because the people who walk and read notice boards in this village, there's maybe 10, dozen at most.
But they don't read those big red octagonal signs either.
No. Especially down here below the highway.
Yeah, that's familiarity breeds contempt.
And it's in the post office as well. So when they go and get their mail,
That's what they
This-
call a
See it
Lions
there.
Bay stop.
There's what is the issue in Lions Bay is we do not reach all of the people we need to reach, and that's clear based on the level of attendance at things that people need to attend.
I can make a suggestion. We could, and this is just, we've said this before, and I'm sorry to dump this now, but the reality is if we had moved years ago to community post office boxes, and they all have signs spots beside them where you can actually read a bulletin board and stuff like that. That's the ideal situation for that kind of stuff.
Well, we have single mailboxes with a notice board right there. People don't read the notice board.
Well, but everybody's crammed into this one little spot in there. No, that's not
Well,
great.
I don't. You got
I will
an
tell
idea?
you, well, we've had 3 people stop staff and ask about the infrastructure master plan and the items on it, and all 3 have mentioned they're coming to the town hall. So there is word out there.
Okay.
And I will say, that
That's
it's nice to
encouraging.
see that information out on the board out here.
The council meeting one?
No, yeah, the one.
Oh, the
yeah,
two,
lit up
yeah.
board.
The lit board, I tell you.
It's nice, it's great.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good idea.
Because you see it as you drive past it, and I say, aha, I must go and read those notices. I mean, I know what's on them, but I think other people say that. I've heard that. It's fantastic. Yeah, well done on that. And I didn't even know you were going to light it. But you were.
Now, there are some sign possibilities that you can do that work really well. We've got, like, down the top of Isle View, you've got a stop sign there at the bridge, and you see those, we used to have election signs all the way up the entrance to the highway. You could put a sign there in different locations where you're at a stop sign, you can be looking for it, you can see the sign, and then you can go. Not a bad deal, not a bad idea.
Well, I would
Just
suggest
simple
that
things
a
like
lot
that.
of people, because there's 3 exits in the village, not just Lions Bay Ave. A lot of people don't check their mail, but monthly, according to the post office guys, because they just don't receive any real mail anymore. It's all nothing. So I think that's important that we do actually also accommodate people who are getting off at the other 2 exits and don't come into the centre frequently enough. And that's what the sandwich boards are. How many of those sandwich boards did you get? You okay? You didn't?
Just one. Yeah,
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
thank you.
We have several locations at the village that would work well for the sandwich boards like that, where you can put them out, bring them in, whatever the case is, change the sign, and they recognize them as a village sign. They're not going to do anything to them, whatever the case is.
No,
Yeah.
must be.
And that's a good thing. And I can't emphasize enough that I made a joke about distracted driving. We can't encourage that in any way, shape, or form. So we need to make sure that we do it in a responsible manner. That's all.
Well, anyway, we just need as many mediums as possible. Email is of quite good use. That's got a relatively good reach. How many people read it, I don't know.
Your email, your weekly update goes out. A lot of people read that.
I hear a lot of people read it, so
Yeah.
that's good. Word of mouth, and I will actually this Friday I will specifically say, please talk to your neighbours. Yeah, I mean, what the other mayors were telling me at some meeting the other day that they were golfing with an ophthalmologist who lives in Lions Bay, and asked him what they thought of the mayor, thinking that they'd get the local skinny on the mayor, pointing to self for the tape, and they said, "Oh, she's really nice, Brenda. She's a great mayor."
She? Something we don't know.
And this is a guy who lives in Lions Bay for 2 years that doesn't know who his mayor is. That tells you all you need to know about our communication skill. Maybe
Or
it's
the
bit-
interest of the ophthalmologist in local politics.
Well, exactly. But he should know. He should know that we were tight on water last year, and he should know that we're looking for loan authorization. Even the most disinterested resident needs to at least know that, and decide whether they're going to come or not.
Yeah. So speaking of water, the next item is outdoor water use signs. And as we're speaking about the need for bigger posters and where to put them, we are now at level 0 on the conservation scale, and looking at a date maybe a month from now, or we'll talk about right now taking down the signs for the winter. But before we do, it occurs to me that perhaps we've got a window of opportunity here where we could print some larger posters about the town hall meeting and put them on those boards.
I'm just cognizant of the timeline that we have for the size of posters that we're talking about to get them.
I'm thinking the 2, oh no, well we've got really 3. We've got the poster, the invite poster, and then we've got 2 infrastructure posters. If we made them all, I think those boards are, what are they, how high versus how wide?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but are you thinking of getting a single
thinking-
sign with all 3 of them on
I'm
it?
thinking if we had posters that were printed at, 18 by 24 or whatever, and go 1, 2, 3 on the board, on
Yeah,
each board.
I can get a cost and a
They're
timeline.
in good location for that. That's a good
And you've
thought.
got the local printer who could probably turn that around in time.
I don't know how you would laminate something that size,
Right.
right?
Well, the
I guess-
local
I guess
guy
that's
has
the issue.
waterproof ink poster printing available. You don't have to laminate it.
Does he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, is this any more special than any other major announcement? Maybe, given the fact that we have a sort of a stand for it, sure, we could try that. Of course, we wouldn't be able to use those for notices when they're taken down in the winter. I'm thinking about sort of more general. I would like there to be sort of known standard places where you see village notices. One of them is the sandwich board here, one of them is the sandwich board at the stop at Isle View. To use that as a one-off. I've just been harping on about the fact that we need all the mediums we can use. So why don't we leave that up to you guys?
Sure.
So I'm pleased to hear that we're taking the signs down for the winter.
Well, that was my segue to,
Yeah, yeah.
lead into it as a discussion point. I know that you'd like to see that happen.
Yeah.
Alternative view might be that there's no need, that it's showing 0, people understand it's 0, and that people will notice when it goes to 1. So I don't know what people's views are on that.
What do you guys think about taking the signs down?
I
Would the
think
poles still be there? Or would
Yes.
the poles come down too?
No,
So the
the
poles would
poles
still
will
be there,
be
okay.
Yeah.
personally, I think it's responsible. It's no longer applicable for the winter. We know that, you know, we're out of the danger zone right now. So it makes sense to get the signs. They're expensive. They're not cheap. They're not, you know, we took a lot of time to make those signs and get them made. And so let's take care of them, take them down, and if we can use them for the spots for something else temporarily, that's great. Let's do it.
The only concern I would have is if we end up with some sort of debris flow and then we have limited intake and we're running off of one intake only, it would seem prudent to cut down on our level of conservation to maximum use.
Yeah, but there's only outdoor water use signs. That doesn't speak to indoor water use at all, and
Yes.
nobody's going to be outdoor using from November through
That's
May.
true.
What do you think, no?
They're just 2 bolts on each.
I mean, they could stay out there all year. They're metal signs. They're not going anywhere.
It'll take about an hour to get all of them down.
Yeah.
An hour to put them up. So it's
The
up to you.
reason I'd like to see them go down is because then when they go up again in June, people say, "Oh, we're back on water conservation."
Yeah.
So that you don't get over familiar with them. I mean, I look at them every time I go by, but that's because, you know, I'm anal about these things, and I may have had some hand in the design.
Because you read signs,
And I read signs.
unlike a lot of people.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I've heard both sides. I'm
Yeah.
sort of more on the side that, you know, when they do go up, it'll be a, you know, wow,
Notice change.
that time of year again, right?
yeah, and they should go up slightly before the 1st of June, so people can see we're at level 0, and then I do not know how many people notice the change from level 0 to level 1 back to level 0 again. Nobody's mentioned it to me. I noticed it.
I
within
noticed
an
it.
hour. Yeah. Well, but yeah, we would, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had some people comment on it.
Have they?
Mhm.
Okay. So it's your decision, but I think you get a sense of where we think it should go. You want to run it by the... I know the IC would say, the original intent with the IC was that the signs came down.
And I think that's a good policy because they become stale after a while.
Yeah. Now, in terms of using that board now for this particular meeting coming up, having thought about it now while we're talking about this other thing, I don't know that I like that because it's not a standard location for that kind of notice. That's the outdoor water use location. I don't want to start prostituting the location.
Well, one of the thoughts that I had when we looked at various locations for that signage and the posts by which they would be put up, and this was before I came along. I had talked with Garth about, you know, maybe we can utilize those posts for hanging signage for other matters throughout the rest of the year. So there was some dual purpose thought given at the time. Whether or not it's valid or relevant or others think it's a good idea is, you know, whatever. I'm just saying that was a consideration.
The signs are in a good location where people have physically stopped and they see them. And
Yeah, the signs are excellent. They're
It's really good, and that's the thing to remember. They're
Well, actually,
in a
but
good
that's not a
location.
bad point that you're making there, Peter, because, I mean, my ultimate vision is to have weatherproof, dynamic TVs, you know, outdoor notice boards that can be changed from here with changing messaging depending on the day. Not
You mean like a billboard with like 3 sides and it's electronic and it moves and you can program
No,
it
TV
from a
screen.
remote location?
Like
a TV screen.
Like the billboards that the Squamish Nation put up on the
Yeah,
at the approach to the second Narrows and at the off ramp to the
Nowhere
first-
near that size, but
I'm only familiar with the billboard at
Yeah.
Squamish Nation in Squamish.
No, these are like full screen.
Oh,
they're big.
TVs.
Yeah.
okay.
But no, I'm thinking about 4x6.
Yeah.
But
Still
you know,
sounds like a
council
big
meeting
budget.
tonight. Yeah, it's a budget. No, it's going to have to be
Should have got
sponsored.
a few of those free Telus
I already
50
know who's
CDs
gonna
they were
sponsor
giving
it.
out. That would have been good.
It's going to say sponsored by
The
somebody at the bottom.
posting signage at these outdoor water use location spots will get people trained to look at that. So then again, when the sign goes up in the summer, they'll be trained to look at that.
But if I could say, if we put them there, you gotta watch how much stuff you're putting on it. If you use those little ones, the fonts are gonna be so small that somebody driving by wouldn't understand it.
It's got to be big.
Yeah.
Take the size you think is right and double it, and then
Yeah.
you probably got it right.
So if you could use those to direct people to the other ones, or hit, say, the key points in very few words, I think that would be the most effective.
Hmm.
Those posts can hold pretty big signs. You can, go pretty big on the signage. So.
They're not meant to be long-term signs anyways. I mean,
No.
the posts are, but the reality is what we're talking about putting on there is temporary, like
Yeah.
for this meeting on the 13th and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think Fred's point is it's got to be
So-
big.
It's gotta be
Really
big.
big.
So
Yeah.
Meaning
so maybe
expensive.
even just like a big homemade sign or wood sign that says Town Hall tonight. People are going to know where the heck it is. Or
Those signs that are on the sandwich board, the chloroplast signs that we have, council meeting tonight, those are $24 each.
Yeah, Chloroplast is incredibly cheap
Yeah.
and looks good.
Yeah.
Now we need something double that size for that location.
Double it, $40.
And the printers are 48-inch bed printers, so they can print anything.
These, yeah, I go through Shireen Industries to do the printing, so.
Well, I would say let's just leave it up to staff.
okay, so we've got some ideas, we've got some input from
Yep.
council, and we'll see what we can come up with in
We-
terms of options that work.
Depend on staff for that, and that's good. I think the ideas are there.
Yeah, I think we're happy to leave it up to you. One question though, do we want to call this a town hall or a village hall?
It's already out. It's
It's a town hall?
It's a town
Town hall is a more generic term, and so that's why I just wanted to raise it. We called the water meeting a village hall, and that was a bit sort of funky. We were talking about the actual thing or the meeting. So town hall, if it's a done deal, it's sort of academic.
This is a town, this is a hall.
No, this is a
Town
village.
hall.
I think
Towns are between 5,000 and 10,000.
I think the term town hall is familiar to people and they
Yeah.
understand what it is.
That's right. Is it 2 words or 1?
Too. Okay, on to number C. House on Community Forum, October 14th at Glen Eagles Community Center. And I just put this on here to make sure that council's aware, and I know the mayor's aware, and I wasn't sure what the plans or intentions are in terms of attending, and so I'll turn it over to you, Mayor.
Okay, thanks. So the meeting is at Glen Eagles Community Centre from 9 to noon on next Friday. It's a fairly worthwhile agenda this time. It's talking about new development. There's a presentation on the Sewell's Marina development. There's some pretty good stuff happening. I would encourage all of us to go, to show the flag. Jordan Sturdy goes, Pam Goldsmith-Jones is supposed to be there. We're going to be communicating with her on the surprise announcement of infrastructure funding that we didn't seem to even know about, let alone get any award of. So it would be useful for her to see us there. So can you guys make it?
I'll be
Or
there.
notified Ruth.
You've done it. Good. Okay, so can you also just make sure that you're on the list,
Yeah,
Jim?
I will, yeah.
Good, thanks. And Ron, in fact, so I'll send a note to Ron to make sure that he signs up too, if he can.
Is it back?
I think he'll
Oh,
be
yeah,
back by
yeah.
then, yeah.
So it's Ruth is the other one, yeah? Oh, okay, so I'll call Ruth. Okay,
Okay, good.
that's easy.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. So I intend to produce a more fulsome written report for full council so that Ron can participate in the discussion, but I'll just briefly update you. Pretty worthwhile. I attended Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. It was in Victoria, as you know. as you also know, the best part is the sideline meetings with other communities where you plonk down at some small seminar and you introduce yourself to the guy sitting next to you, who turns out to be the mayor of Merritt or a councillor from Hope or whatever, and then you get to chatting, and that's the good part, because it's quite interesting to hear what these people have to say. The business piece that I went for was a joint meeting with the mayors of Enmore, Becerra and Bowen Island in front of the Minister of Sport, Community and Social Development, or whatever it is, CSCD. And I think for the first time, we didn't get a standard answer. Why? Because I don't think he'd ever been presented with 4 mayors and their staff before. So for the first time that I've ever been to these meetings, there were more people on our side of the table than on his side of the table. Because he has 2 deputy ministers and an ADM and his note taker and his note taker's note taker, and it's all pretty overweight. And then he gives some platitude and then everybody leaves. So we had half an hour because it was a combined meeting. You normally have 5 minutes, and he got the message. And the message was, and this will be in my former report, it was a brief that we put together, the 3 mayors, Enmore, Becerra and us, with CAOs, each CAO's assistants, speaking to the fact that we thought that we should be treated a little differently because of our difficulty at being small players in the big metro marketplace, for staff, for contractors, for resources. So long story short, we asked the minister to consider removing our obligation to give our gas tax money to TransLink, because right now 95% of our gas tax money goes straight to TransLink because we're members of Metro. And we get to only participate in a secondary gas tax program, along with all the other municipalities in BC. We're also going to ask for consideration to take part in the rural, what's it called, Peter?
Rural Municipal Fund or something
No,
like that?
it's
That's out my note.
it's in my report, but I can't remember. I just wrote it. Rural Opportunities Fund. Not because we're rural, but because we actually have the same characteristics as a rural community, despite being within Metro, and a few other sort of minor details. The other thing we talked about was some specifics about provincial crown actions towards municipal crown, being us, and I subsequently met with Jordan Sturdy to talk about how we would present our request that we're making to various ministries for peppercorn rent. Is that a term that we use in Canada, peppercorn rent?
No.
Okay, a nominal rent charge
Okay.
for Flinro lands to extend the current lease that we have for fire training facility for potential relocation of the public works facility up to Flinro lands, with a view to eventual agreement to ceding that land to us on the basis that it's being held in trust for the benefit of the residents of BC. Let us hold it in trust because we know probably a little better what the residents of this part of BC want to do with that land than the province does. That's an argument that may or may not succeed because they're very happy to sell our land to us at market prices, which is, I don't think that's correct. So long story short there is that Sturdy and I will come up with a sort of a fairly cogent argument on some of these ministerial level things that we're doing. I'm meeting with Jordan Sturdy next Friday afternoon as well. Maybe it's this Friday, I can't remember. No, I think it's this Friday. At his offices, don't worry. To talk about some of these ministerial asks. So all in all, pretty good UBCM, I thought. That's about all that's worth reporting at this stage of the game. I wrote down quite a few notes and I'm putting those into a written report, which I'll submit for the record. So good? Mm-hmm. The one thing I'll also just point out is that most communities, certainly all the metro communities, they took everybody. All councillors, several staff members. I don't know if that's a good use of it's 90% of it's time waste. You're sitting in these plenary sessions where you're passing fairly useless resolutions on stuff that, ask the province to play nice with us. Well, okay, we'll ask them,
But it's the value too of the communication and the meeting, like you said, the off, when
So that's
you turn
the best
around
part.
yeah, and that kind of thing. That's probably the valuable part.
So and it's set up in that way. So you go in to partake of the free buns and coffee that somebody offers, and you put it on the table, and then somebody else says, "Can I show you your table?" I say, "Sure." I was feeling lonely. Who are you? And you look at their badge, and that's a good part. And that would be useful for anybody to participate in. That really actually is quite fun.
It's probably a good goal to achieve, to
Yeah.
have more and more people attend.
So let's think about
Yeah.
that for next year.
Yeah.
The next year is in Vancouver
Yeah,
again. So I think, is that correct?
It usually alternates.
Because sometimes they go to Prince George sometimes.
Yeah, that was a one-off. I
That was a
think,
one-off?
but,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Why?
might be a little bit more than the one-off if they get their way, but we'll see.
Yeah, Prince George, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's think about that for next year. It's this time next year. Okay, moving on. Council reports. I'll assume there's none. Committee reports. Fred?
Just comment, just for the record, that the IC meeting is postponed from the 10th to the 24th.
To accommodate the holiday?
Yep. And dodging so that the policy, bylaw, and parking,
Policy review.
oh, right,
Yeah.
this, yeah.
Should we raise that point now, Peter?
Sorry.
About the policy and bylaw review committee?
I think we can come back to that. I'd like to put a little bit more thought into that.
Fine. Okay. Okay, scratch that thought for later.
But I wanted to speak now in terms of committees. Councillor Bain had brought up that we should really be meeting as emergency planning subcommittee,
Steering committee.
the four of us, a steering committee. And I was thinking we should try and do that sooner than later. So whether we were to take the Monday spot that's currently occupied by the bylaw policy committee, or because the four of us, or because if the two of you are amenable, perhaps we could do it during regular hours instead of evening hours.
I think that would be
Um,
preferable.
It's still
so
got to be a
maybe-
public meeting.
Yeah. But perhaps we can, I could shoot around potential meeting times and dates.
It's fine with me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that the people who would want to attend have the opportunity. That's why we do these things in the evening, right? On the other hand, there's a convenience factor, so it's a balance. So
Mhm.
yeah, do what you think best.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and so Fred will chair that committee. Do we need a council resolution on all that stuff, or are we still getting going?
No, we're just getting going. So
Fine.
we'll get a date going and then take it from there.
Okay,
Is
good.
this- Well, the thing I haven't said anything more since I wrote the email was I was wondering about the election coming and all the preparations for the bylaw thing. Do we have time to get in our steering committee meeting, or?
Well, I was hoping that we would. I've been meaning to get back to you on it for a while, but it's kind of. Let's see what we can do
Okay.
for the date, and I'd like to at least get a first meeting underway so we can sort of look at what's the lay of the land, what do we need to do, see what the gaps are, and create a work plan or something in terms of where we want to go with it.
Yeah,
Even though that might take a little bit longer to get there because of everything that's going on, but let's at least meet and figure that out.
that's exactly what I was hoping for.
Okay.
Okay, good. So let's move on to the two public safety reports, starting on page 29. Only one question I had, Peter, and that is incidents in the village. What's this Monty Zambit in the village? Obviously, Monty Zambit's not in the village, so I mean, we can. As you know, I'm sort of automatically passing these log entries into an analysis spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
And I can obviously tell that Monty Zambit's not in the village. There's three categories I look at now: highway, in village, out of village. But
Yeah, no, I
assume they
don't
know that's not.
You'd have to. Yeah, we'll have to check with the fire department.
Okay, and I'll also just point out this is August 1st to August 31st, so
Yeah, we just received the one for September.
yeah, it's only the 4th
so
of October, so
we just didn't get in time for.
Yeah,
So
that's-
next meeting we'll have the one for September.
that's fine. Okay, and same again for page 31, the police report. 62 speeding fines. That's oh no, that's because it's a 2-month report now. I keep
That's
forgetting.
right.
Yeah.
I have seen them out there a few times, giving tickets.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job lately.
Yeah, okay. Good, so anything else there? So we'll take a motion to receive the fire report and the police report. And a second. Any further discussion? All in favour? Opposed? Carried. And we're moving on to 9 resolutions. The item itself is on table,
Oh, I took yours. Here's yours.
and this is a formality to appoint Jim Murtry to the Infrastructure Committee. So I don't think we need any major debate about this, but we need a motion and a second. Thanks. And any discussion? So I'll call the question. All in favour? Opposed? That carries. Thanks. So we'll move to bylaws. There being none, we'll move to correspondence. We'll look through this quite quickly. We don't have Ron here to do his magic, so I'll do it quickly. The first is around the Canada 150 thing. There's not really a call to action here, and we have more than enough to do, so I propose to do nothing unless anybody has a violent objection. There is some funding available. We've sort of missed the initial dates. They're looking for a likely suspect that they can send emails to do all kinds of things. My suggestion is no action. You know, if we had all the resources and time in the world, we'd put banners on the posts and everything, you know, Canada 150. We'll probably be sorry if we don't do that, though. We'll look a bit mingely.
Or on a second thought, was the events committee, would somebody on that be willing to do it for the village?
I believe it has to be an elected official.
Oh, really? Or community leader? Well, events committee are leaders, I suppose.
No, actually, I'm wrong.
Oh, right. A member of council can become a community leader, or prominent community representative can be identified.
It doesn't have to be a council
It
member.
doesn't have to be an elected official. Seeing as we've missed the first deadline, what I suggest we do is table this and bring it forward to full council when we have a full council of 5. Yes, I know. So we've missed that deadline.
No.
Oh, I keep reading that as September 15th.
October. I haven't missed the deadline.
Okay, so who are we going to tap? Yeah, I was wrong. I kept seeing that as September 15th. Sorry.
No, it's not.
That's my sister's birthday, that's why. Which I forgot to say happy birthday to her still.
The guilt is weighing you down.
Day before my brother's
Tricks on your
birthday.
mind.
Do you think she'll have noticed? She'll have forgotten by now. It's 2 weeks, Febs.
They never forget.
Yeah, I know that. Okay, so what do you want to do?
Should we poll the events committee? See if anyone's interested?
Okay, thanks, Fred. Will you poll the events committee? Talk to Yuta and ask her what... it's not Yuta, it's... who is the events committee chair? It's... I know who it is, I'll tell you in a second. Not Sharon, not Kathy.
Not Nancy?
No. Damn it, I'm drawing a blank. Events committee.
I'd be happy to make a phone call if I just knew who to call.
Yeah, it's a tip of my tongue. Tell you in a minute.
Tanya, is it?
It's not Tanya, no. It's Finnan and Maya's mother.
I don't have kids that small, I don't know.
Yeah, anyway. It's on the tip of my blinking tongue.
We'll come back to it.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay,
Think of
this is an acknowledgement by the Minister of Transport, who was copied our letter regarding the wood fibre project. Well, it's nice to get it. I got an abject phone call saying, so sorry we haven't responded yet, 6 months after I sent the letter. I essentially said, well, we hadn't actually noticed, to be honest. We weren't expecting anything. Then there's a whole slew of stuff on air quality and housing. It's all in different order, but so this is merely the fact that this air quality report's available. Some may ask where is Lions Bay's own air quality report as a result of the monitoring station that was here all of last winter. It's still coming. Kate Pratt. Kate Pratt. And she's not Mayor's mom, by the way. I was thinking about somebody else. But now, what is Mayor's mom's name?
Moving on.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, so human trafficking. This is a non-official thing. I propose to do nothing about it. Speak fast if you disagree. This is the implementation of the Species at Risk Act. I don't believe that we have any input unless anybody would care to. The policies only speak to the principles and something to do with woodland caribou, which we don't have any here. So we'll move on. Ambulance services, that's something that is of interest to us, but this comes from a union representative. I don't really know what we're supposed to do about this. There is a call to action asking us to demand certain things from the government. We demand that 197 resources are added, 24 ambulances, etc., etc. Peter, what's your recommendation here?
I confess to not having reviewed this in advance.
Am I out of line by saying that our ambulance service that we have in the village of Lions Bay for the village of Lions Bay is excellent?
Yeah, I don't actually, to be honest, don't want to rock the boat there
No,
too much, because we have 2 ambulances now. They're
Yeah.
here because they service the highway.
Yeah.
I mean,
But,
I don't know
but for
what.
the most part, whenever we've had to call for ambulance services, okay, they've been like right there, right now. And for the most part, I would think that was true within the whole village because we have 2 here. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, my point on it, when they're asking us to demand of the provincial government on something like this, based on the letter they sent, is inadequate. And for us to make such a bold demand or something, we'd have to do a lot of research on it.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's the best use of our time, as you
Well,
say.
My,
We are
my
getting
point,
good
my
service.
point is, what would be the bold demand that we would be, what would be the background for that bold demand?
Yeah.
I don't think we have one, that's my whole point. I think we've got good
I don't think this is our purview. I mean, you know, they raise some interesting points about the stress effect on ambulance
And that's
personnel
true.
and dispatchers. Yes, that's true. I buy that. But that's not for us. We have absolutely no jurisdiction or control over the ambulance service. I think that would be within the BC Ambulance Services. If they want something different and the union wants something, that's between them, those 3 parties, not us.
Most emergency services have their emotional trauma assist stuff in place already. I would be very surprised if the BC Ambulance Service isn't up to speed on that.
Well, the union seems to think they don't, but okay. Okay, so we'll move on from that one with no action. Then there's a whole slew of stuff on affordable housing, which is just all for information, all kinds of different ways of looking at the thing. The community relations report from BC Hydro raised one question in my mind. It's really a question for Pam. It's on page 61 of the package. The first is they're being disingenuous when they say they pay us school taxes, because all we do is collect the school taxes from them. And it's not actually school, it's actually provincial levy. But I did want to ask about this 29,779 in grants that they talk about. What's that? First I've heard of it.
Village of Lions
I
Bay.
thought marked as well.
That's probably, I'm guessing from my previous experience with the regional district of Squamish-Lillooet, that's probably in lieu of taxes. That's probably the amount that's in accordance with the formula that they have. That's what all these are, I'll bet, is the amount that they pay in lieu of taxes for the impact of their facilities within the communities listed.
Who do they pay to?
Us.
Oh, and we keep it.
It'll
So
be-
they
yeah.
they pay us 51,973.
No, because part of that would go to school taxes, which
Yeah, but I mean,
we
so-
would never see.
No, they send us a check for 51,973, of which we turn around and pass 22,000 back to
In
the
all
province.
likelihood, I mean, I can clarify that.
Can you
with
just check
Pam.
that? Because my understanding of utilities tax, which I see billed on the provincial stats, you know, the 1% utilities, that's not school tax. That's something else. And I never actually have understood who pays that 1% utility tax, but I've always assumed it's BC Hydro. Okay, can you just find out what happened to
Mhm.
what happens to that 30,000?
Yeah.
And the reliability stats were kind of interesting as well. You know, we have quite a few outages, not as many as some, and quite long, not as long as some. Anyway, not much we can do about that. Okay, the stop of interest thing from the UBCM, from British Columbia to UBCM and local governments. Is this anything we want to pursue? Jim, this is kind of your department. This is on the highway, there's a stop of interest in 200 meters sign. Do we even have any in Lions Bay?
Want to go to Brunswick Beach?
No. The closest, well, we used to have, we still have the stop up on top of the hill on the other side, 2 kilometers out of Lions Bay there, but that's about the only one.
No, this would be for historical things. You know, a great battle was fought here, or this is an old mine, or... But people say, hey, I'm going to go and... I have to admit, I'm one of the people who reads those signs and stops at every one of them.
I've stopped at them before too. This is the return off to Broughton Hall. I don't know.
You can come and see our debris barrier,
yeah.
which is a pretty sexy
Yeah.
thing if you're into debris barriers. And we actually have 2.
Okay.
So I don't think we have any.
I don't know. I don't think we do have any.
That's bad. We need some.
We used to have engineering groups come by and look at the channelization beside our place.
Yeah, that's kind of specialized. Yeah.
Well, actually, this
Sunday.
is the former debris torrent that's now turned into a movie shooting place for the kids that want to ride their kayaks down to the water.
Yeah, no,
We certainly don't want to signpost that one.
We don't want that.
Okay, no action.
Yeah. There was a geotechnical group that came out to look at the debris barriers.
Okay, so now it's yeah. So that's actually an out of community one as well. So just for council's information, BestSmart wants to consult with me, and then I'm going to actually just do it alongside Norma, the putative head of the BestSmart committee. Peter, there was one question I had. Do we want to have all these thread stuffs in our emails? Not so much this one, but if you notice this one here, the one from. That was originally an email from Rod Baker. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 forwards. Can we kill those before it makes it into the package, or do we not really care?
Have a look at that.
It's to me it looks like we're not giving it adequate level of respect by just sort of just whacking in some emails.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we should clean it up a little bit
Right,
before it
yeah.
makes it into the package.
Okay.
Okay, so there you see the BestSmart correspondence. We're on it. And then there's a few letters from residents, some of which I've already responded to and copied council on. Do the responses come back into the record in future things, or?
Well, your response. You talk about your response to. Next
Well,
one?
so resident Ionetti.
Uh-huh.
I mean that's his incoming, but my outgoing didn't make it.
Yeah. Normally, I think the correspondence is correspondence received
Mhm.
as opposed to correspondence sent.
But the reason I ask is I would actually like our responses, official or otherwise, to form part of the record, so that not that anybody's going to find them, but at least it sort of forms a sort of a body of reaction. So my question is, should it?
Right.
Well, my thought on that is that if this is incoming correspondence, then that tells council there's an incoming correspondence deal. We discuss at the table if there's anything to be mentioned or brought up, and then it can be brought up at that time. It doesn't
Yeah.
need to be in the package.
Yeah. So and actually that's really actually more to the point is the correspondence should come to council.
Yeah.
Council should discuss it and deal with it appropriately
Before I respond.
before a response is,
Yeah.
because I'm just thinking about a couple of the responses. It's like there were several responses to some of these pieces of or these emails that came in, and so are we going to collect all of them that all the councillors chirped in with, or and put it all in, or I think it should be. Here comes the correspondence. You discuss it at a council, and then you decide if you're going to respond.
It's a
or
hard one.
You discuss it on the record.
You know, when I get an
understand-
email sent to me, Mayor, but
Yeah.
please tell me the answer to this question. You know, what am I supposed to do? Check 2 weeks later, and then what?
No, so here's what I'll say to that is, no, you should respond in a timely way, but that response should then form the basis of what you want to bring up at the table. So you could reiterate at the table, at council, how you feel about it, or what your response was, and how the other councillors feel about it. And then council as a whole determines what council's response is, because
Beyond my response.
It's got to be council's response. It's just like those other things. The reason we have an IRR is so that it comes to council, and council can discuss it and decide what's the response.
Yeah, I mean, A, I don't want to get overly formal, and B, it's something of a chicken and egg situation, and C, I know, you know, if it was something where I didn't know what council would instruct me to say, then I would wait. But you know, I don't want to presuppose either, so it's a difficult one.
So essentially, I'm saying that respond if appropriate. However, the correspondence is from the resident, and then
To
the
council.
response from council. It might be just you sending out the same thing you already sent out, or that
Oh, I see.
council agrees and that's the response, and it's already been taken care of, or that a
Okay.
further response is required, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Does that sound like?
It does, but I also would want to think that we would, I don't mean to be small town-like, but I would want to put a more urgent nature to emails from residents or from our voters, as opposed to
Yeah.
elected official or a lawyer from whatever the case is,
Yeah.
with an
Yeah,
agenda.
same.
So I think that we need to treat them differently. I think we need to prioritize village stuff as opposed to crap coming from the outside.
But it is an official response, so
It
it does
is,
need to
yeah.
form part of some record. That's my concern, is that
Well-
the response needs to be in the record.
So, yeah, what I'm saying is respond, but in a timely way, like you're saying.
Yeah.
But that's the unofficial response.
Yeah.
And it comes to council meeting, and then you
Okay.
determine is there a change from the
So it needs to be in the
unofficial?
package? The response needs to be in the package?
No, the response would, in a following package, you mean? Or
It's
Well, I
a
don't know
discussion-
which
it's a
package
discussion
it's in.
point. It's
So-
really a discussion point in the council meeting, making council aware of what's going on and having council
Yeah.
opinion on how it needs to proceed from there. If, we don't need to have volumes of responses in there, what
Yeah.
we need to have just the basic stuff in there and how we decide we want to respond to it.
Well, I don't think we should have more than one response, because if there's conflict between them, which is the right
Yeah,
one?
Yeah, so I think it has to be just the correspondence from the resident, and that's what's in the package. You discussed it at council, notwithstanding that you may have already responded, you might have even responded, and you might have, but you need to discuss it at council, and then you decide whether or not, what if any, further action is required.
Okay, fair enough. So in this case, this letter from resident Ionetti was responded to by me. Council's seen it, because I simply
It was
copied.
responded to by more than just you.
Was it? Oh, I didn't see any response.
Yeah.
Really?
So that's my point, is.
So
that
how
we
did you-
can't
how do
have
you know that?
multiple- I don't have it in front of me, but I just know that, I remember that it was, so,
Okay, I wasn't copied, which is not cool.
okay, I think, well, I'll have to look into
Okay.
who was on it, but
Well, so
that's my
must-
point.
It had to have been one of you
Exactly.
two.
Well,
No,
I think we had an email, I think I sent you an email comment about it, but it wasn't back to the author.
No, it was. I think you were responding to my
Yes.
response.
Yeah, okay, so, and then that, like, where do you draw the line? So.
Well, so that's my question, because
So I'm attempting to draw the line at the correspondence from the resident is what's in the package.
okay,
And then you talk about any official response that's required, any
Any-
action required.
any further response?
Notwithstanding that you may have unofficially already responded
Okay.
personally.
so there's no need
But
to
it's a
endorse that
personal
unofficial.
response.
Well, it's not. It's in my it's in our official capacity.
But you didn't respond as council to
How
a
is-
letter from the resident,
how
because
is-
you
this
can't,
is-
you haven't had a meeting yet, so.
How is this different from me getting a phone call from Lisa Turbin about water running down the street and calling Nye? Like,
Mhm.
I haven't talked about that, but it's not recorded anywhere, but I picked up the phone and called Nye and said,
Yeah,
this is what's happening.
What you have here is the resident has directed it to council,
Mhm. Yeah.
right?
So
Yeah, whether they realise that's what the official thing, that now triggers an official response, I
Correct.
doubt.
Although Mr. Wyman's email, I think, was just addressed to you personally, at your own personal email address, wasn't it?
No, it went to all council.
Oh, okay.
But there are many that come to my personal address, which are obviously meant for me as the mayor, which is not a problem.
The mayor and council.
yeah, I think that being addressed to council is the official.
Mhm.
Makes it official. Anything else is unofficial. Well, I don't like that because I think, for example, for example, if Max Wyman's email was to, it came to council, but there are others that didn't make it into this package that are addressed to me. The council needs to be aware of. For
And
example,
the resident needs to be encouraged to send it to mayor and council.
and if he
Well-
doesn't or refuses,
Then it doesn't form part of the record.
I think that every municipality where there's a mayor involved, somebody that knows the mayor's email address is gonna take that and go bang to the
Yeah.
mayor and
yeah.
let crap fall where it may.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I would think that anybody sending an email to the mayor would expect,
It
it's
needs
now
to go to
sufficiently
mayor and
within
council.
channels.
Yeah.
I believe it's actually in one of our policies that,
Yeah, just,
are you just gonna say that?
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that if it's directed to, I think if it's not directed to all of council, then it doesn't go to the correspondence portion of the package.
Well,
If it's only directed to one or two or three of you, then it's not an official correspondence piece.
well, I mean, it can always be brought up in a
Or
report
response
section.
that's in
But
the-
talk about small town. I'm not going to say to the residents, if you want to really correspond with council, we require you to read the policy. If they send me an email that's,
It's no different than picking up the phone, calling any one of us, we would respond to it right away.
Mhm.
okay, I'm just I'm confused at a higher level though.
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
Would your call from Lisa be correspondence for council?
Well, to be honest, I would like to know that people are
It was a
making.
resident call, I took it, they didn't know who to call, rather than give out a nice phone number, I merely phoned, done, simple as that. And he answered right away, it was done, they were already on top of it, no question, I phoned Lisa back and said, this is what's happening. She said, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with doing it according to policy, but my question is, how does the response enter the record? It doesn't, is the answer. But how does council review what's been sent to know whether anything further needs to be done?
I think Peter mentioned that you would discuss it here, so your response should be discussed.
Okay, but where's my response? I didn't bring a copy. And they don't remember what I said, even though I did.
And you don't remember?
Oh, I remember very well, but I'm not going to start quoting it verbatim. So the question is, should the response be in here for discussion?
So I think as I said earlier, I think it's the same principle as the DIRRs. It's something that is dealt with on an individual level, needs to be brought forward for council to formulate a response or consider whether or not any further action is required, then that's where it
Oh, I'm
needs to
good with
come.
that. But now,
But-
so
so-
I did respond to an individual level. Must I personally bring in my thing and give copies to everybody saying this is what I did?
No, I think that you can use it as your speaking notes at the council meeting and say, I've already responded to this person and I told them this, this, and this. Does anybody else have any thoughts about this matter? Do we need to send another letter? Is there something that staff needs to do? What's action would council like to take?
The other way of doing it is to wait until council said to respond.
Sorry, to wait until.
To wait until the next council meeting to discuss what the response is, or to be told to respond. That's usually what happened. So, I didn't jump the gun here because these were sort of pressing things, so I responded to them. But normally what happens is the letter comes in, council says the mayor should respond, and I respond.
That's
And
what
that-
usually happens, yeah.
But that response doesn't enter the record. I guess, but it doesn't, right?
Generally
No,
not.
it's just, can I just add to that as well?
Mhm.
Also, it depends on when this comes in, because I receive the correspondence, so it depends based on the cutoff for the council package, like the Thursday at noon cutoff. So,
Mhm.
for example, your response came in after, so the packages were already completed. It was, I think, Friday or Thursday. later in the day.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, the question is more: should the response be in the package ever, independent of any cutoff date? And I'm hearing no. I'm fine with it. I just want to know what's standard.
Well, I think
Although I would like some of these responses to be in the record, so
I
we
think
can point to them.
I think what it comes down to is staff needs to review the correspondence policy again, and perhaps we bring this back for further discussion.
We don't have time. You don't have time. You've got bigger fish to fry.
Okay, well,
Although I will say that communications is important, and this is
Especially
Especially-
in this community.
Yeah.
Especially in this community, given the history. We need to make sure we're very openly communicating. Look what we're doing.
okay. So I don't know if you remember my response to Tony, but it was that thanks, of course, thanks for your input, and something like, oh, you see, I can't actually remember.
Talking about
Well, I
BC
think the
assessment
response-
is-
Something like we don't do the assessments of BC Assessment Authority, and something about loans. We probably do intend to repay our loan, any loans that we take, and yeah. As I said, I'm just confused at a high level, but we'll move on. So same again for Rod Baker. Now I hadn't seen this one, so what's the direction here?
Which page are you on now?
Page 71. There's a bit of
Okay.
sort of header material.
Oh, okay, here we are.
I mean, I would suggest that if we do respond at all, the response is, you know, it's within council's purview as elected representatives to make decisions for the village.
Well, it's, yeah, yeah, chicken before the egg, or egg before the chicken, whatever you want to call it, same idea.
No, we're certainly not going to have a referendum on every decision.
No, you don't need that, that's not.
Motion to receive the report? No, we're going to have a referendum.
Yeah, no.
Not this one, Peter.
I think
This is
that's an opinion, and that's fine.
Yeah,
We acted within our authority doing that, and
yeah.
we.
So do we even respond to this one? I don't want to put the cat amongst
I
the
would say,
pigeons.
given the
I
turnout.
don't know who this is.
Given the turnout at the ceremony, that we
It's a
should be
popular
pleased.
decision,
It's
yeah.
popular turnout, so I would say that most people were pleased with it, so.
Okay, I will respond.
Rod is a member of the ESS team, so he's familiar with what goes on here.
Okay.
Also, the other point I think we need to make and emphasize is we work under a representational government system.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Exactly.
Vote us out if you don't like that decision. Please.
I don't think they can.
Next time.
They're stuck with us.
Okay. So, Mayor to respond? Kindly and politely.
Yes.
Page
Please.
71. Okay, good. And that's all that. Same again, I've already responded to Max. I don't know if you remember it. It was, yeah, thanks, yeah. We know it's expensive. Things have changed.
No, you said exactly what I was thinking when I read it. It came, as soon as he sent it, it came in, and I was at my desk, and I was looking at it, holy crap, look at this. And, you know, I read the thing, and I thought, all my red lights went off, and that was it. And so, that's good.
Well, I think there has to be the assumption made or understanding made that just because AECOM figures this is the price, it's going to be a competitive bid, so we may come in well under it any time.
Well, I'll give you my personal thought on that, because I worked for the Ministry of Transportation and Highways for a few years, and I was a quote-unquote bridge foreman with a full crew working in these kootenays. And I'll tell you something, that if a resident went out and changed a plank on a bridge, okay, that was supported with rotten stringers, and as they were taking the plank broke, not because of the fact the plank broke, because of the rotten stringer underneath it, and they laid new plank over top, not knowing what they were doing, and a car fell through, there would be holy heck to pay.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what my thought was when Max made that comment in his letter.
No, I mean, Lions Bay is being dragged kicking and screaming into the new era,
That's right.
and these are all the sort of the things that you would expect to hear.
I would like to add that $300 is a Blue Book estimate
Yeah, it's all
value
in.
for a contract company, unionized labor, fuel, transport time, everything else. Our local staff, Public Works, can go and change this for about $50. So
I think we all understand that. We all know it's
Yeah.
done with standard costing manuals, standard methodologies. So this is, I am certainly not going to second guess pricing given to us by people who know what they're
But we also need to understand that we have hidden costs that we pay that people don't seem to see. We have the cost of a vehicle, the cost of fuel, all the stuff that goes with
Benefit packages.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where that comes in. You're absolutely right.
I think there's an additional takeaway from former Mayor Wyman's letter, and that is that it's important for us not to lose sight of the fact that people may very well question the costs that are associated with the infrastructure master plan.
No, that's the thing I'm concerned
And it's important to note, we can even look at tonight's agenda and Nye's report with respect to the engineering RFP that we put out. All of the responses we got were over the budgeted price that AECom gave us. And if you recall, that budget estimate was originally 15,000. They upped it to 24 because at one point the engineer of record that came in said, that's too low, it should be like 24. And even that is too low. So there are, basic principles by which they make these estimates, and I could probably speak to this much better than I can. But I think that this is a good heads up for us and a good indication to us that the estimates in the infrastructure master plan are likely not overpriced, and if anything, we should be concerned that they're not high enough.
Yeah, I don't think anybody here is arguing with that.
Yeah, so I don't know if you had anything else to add.
No, not really. I reviewed, in the final review of the infrastructure master plan, I did review the costs, comparing to my previous employment at West Van and internal construction crews. For example, the unit cost for water mains, AECom is using an average rate of $700 per meter. In West Van, it depends. It could be anywhere from $500 to $1,200, depending on whether you have rock blasting, full road reconstruct, or just mill and overlay. So I'm comfortable that the numbers that they've used are the average, and they developed these numbers from contracts and that they bid on and are successful in.
Yeah, I don't think anybody here disputes any of that. So that's not to say that we don't respond politely to the resident to explain that, the old days are not with us anymore.
No, but also I just wanted to reiterate that so that
Yeah.
we're all aware, and then that's a message that
Well,
needs to be part of our
So will that enter the-
communication at the town hall.
So
for instance.
have you got
Yeah,
this?
it's
Because
being, it's
the thing that sort of made me say, was, have we independently tested the estimates that go to make up the 9.5 million that you say we may need to spend, or the 3 million residents are going to be asked to agree to borrow, which those are included in each other. It's not additive. So the answer is yes, we have, and we need to say that. And as you've just said, Nye, you did actually review these, and it went through a professional review as well at AECom. So yes, the numbers are good numbers, and we use the BC Blue Book, or whatever, I don't know what the costing manual is here.
I don't know what they use.
Well-
From Graham's conversation about the water tank at Harvey, they use existing projects that they were successful in, and they've developed their own spreadsheet of unit costs for mains, for
It's part of the expertise
sewer.
we pay them for.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I will also remind you that you remember that $1.6 million tank. There was a lot of pushback from the public on that because they said, hang on a sec, the tank costs $320,000 to buy. Well, where's this 1.6 coming from? And we showed them where it came from. So yeah, we do need to be very cognizant of that in our town hall, because we cannot have people saying, nah, the numbers are not good. We're not going to. Nah.
Well,
you don't need that much.
So then we need to be prepared to answer those questions just in that manner, and we need to have a discussion around that.
You're realizing that you're going to be doing a lot of talking, right? Because you speak calmly. I think
Yeah.
this maybe.
Yeah, no, we're working on the presentation together, Peter and I.
I have a lot of understanding about that stuff as well because of my background, because I've been involved in a lot of major stuff, although it was years ago, but the formulas and stuff are, other than the dollar amounts, the formulas are pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And all the maintenance stuff I did years ago falls within this stuff as well, so.
Yeah, what concerns me to see, obviously somebody really knows what he's talking about, has got the ear of a lot of the village and was a mayor. When I see lines like this is quite honestly ridiculous, that concerns me, because that means we've still got some work to do. But I guess we know that in our communications and education piece. Okay, good. So we'll move on from there. To the next item, which is where in the
business.
agenda?
New business.
New business. Okay. So there's a recommendation on the table with justifications given. The only thing that I saw that was might concern people is the moving the meeting of July 18th to July 25th, because that's right in the middle of summer, just before council goes on break.
So
And will
part,
that work?
part of the logic with that is that we
That's good logic.
don't have quite as big,
Mhm.
that could be almost 2 months from the time of the last meeting to the next meeting in September. So
No,
it
the
narrows
logic's
the
good.
gap a little bit.
But can you handle it? I looked in my calendar, and so far I can handle it.
What do you mean? Can you handle?
No,
it?
I'm asking these guys if they can handle the July
Oh.
25th meeting.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
mean, I know it's a long way away.
Moving it to July 25th instead of the 18th.
Yeah.
Is there? Do you have any?
I'm sure you haven't looked at July
Comment or-
18th either, so
As far as I'm concerned, it's a non-issue. I mean, it's the worst time to take a holiday, July, anytime in July, as far as I'm concerned. And so, yeah.
yeah, we may take a holiday, but that's,
Yeah.
then I won't be
So
able to come. But
we're in business up until the August break, and so why not do it? That's fine.
what I will say
If
though,
it's
when I
fine.
was looking, is that the automated calendar that you send out, Shauna, that you had sent out for council meetings, the second meeting of the month has disappeared. It's not in my calendar anymore, and it used to be. So rather than me send it out, can you just check that out to see that that recurring meeting hasn't disappeared somehow?
We don't need it anyways, do we?
Yeah. Maybe that's why.
Good work, Shauna.
Because I didn't see the 18th. I thought, hang on a sec, where's this meeting? And then I went back and looked, and they're all gone. So that recurring appointment seems to have disappeared. Okay, so there's a recommendation for taking options 2 and 3. What about 1? Don't you want to cancel the January 3rd meeting? Postpone. Isn't that the same as cancel? No, it's not. Yeah, it's postponed to the 10th.
Yeah, cancel would be we're not going to do it at all. Postpone is we're going to do it on the 10th instead of the 3rd.
But I think we don't have that option because then we would miss 2 consecutive meetings, right? If we cancelled it.
No, by moving it to the 10th.
Yeah, but that is our only option.
Well, if we don't move it, then if we end up canceling December 20th, which isn't to say that we will,
Okay, I'm with you.
but
Okay.
if you were to cancel December 20th, then you would have no choice but to have the meeting on the 3rd, or postpone it at that point in time.
And it's quite possible we may want to cancel the 20th because it's that close to Christmas.
Well, then the solution, well,
But you may not,
This-
don't presuppose because
Yeah.
the January 10th is a
considerations
much
that-
better option than January 3rd in my eyes.
Yeah, I think the 3rd is going to be very, very
Very, very
difficult.
tight, and nothing's gonna be ready
Exactly. That's
because of the
problem.
Christmas holiday and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense to,
Yeah. Yeah, and if we move to the 10th, then we need to bump the 17th to the 24th. But then there's still 2 weeks before we hit February 7th. So it just really kind of lines up well
Yeah.
and deals with the Christmas.
So
when
the
Christmas break comes.
This recommendation here accommodates these 2 options, the 2 options that you recommend.
Yeah,
Because-
the revised
so that
schedule at
succinctly
the end
says-
of the report incorporates options 2 and 3.
And is encapsulated in the recommendation.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll take the recommendation as the motion. Can I have a second? And any further discussion? Rick?
If we're gonna use the recommendation, I think there's a misprint here. We've got postpone the January 3rd, January 10th,
Yeah.
July 18th. Shouldn't that be the January 17th meeting? January 3rd and 17th?
Oh, you're right.
yeah, you're right.
Good catch.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Eagle eye.
What is it, sorry? So,
Should
Yeah,
say
that's right.
3rd and 17th. Because
Oh, yeah.
instead of the 17th, it's going to be the 24th.
good
Okay,
catch.
so we have a seconded motion, so we'll have to amend the motion. I'll read the amended motion that council postpone the January 3rd, January 17th and July 18th regular meetings by 1 week and adopt the amended draft council meeting schedule shown at the end of the report of September 27th, 2016, incorporating these changes. Can I have a second for the amended motion? And any further discussion on that? All in favour? Opposed? That carries. Okay, good. Well done, Fred. And can you check that missing second meeting, Shauna? It's
Yeah,
just
which month is it in?
all of them.
All of them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's nothing in 2017 for the second meeting.
Damn. Didn't get away with it.
You thought we were... Okay. Public questions and comments. Resolution to close the meeting under authority of Community Charter Sections 91E, G, K, I, and 92B. Can I have a motion and a second? All in favour? Opposed? Carried. The meeting is closing. Okay, we're returning to open meeting at 10:22, having resolved to extend the meeting to 10:30, with one item to report out, and that is that a community planner has been retained to review our zoning and associated bylaws with a view to consolidating and updating our current bylaws. Initial public engagement is anticipated for early December. There's nothing else to report out of the closed meeting. I'll take a motion of adjournment. Thank you. And a second. All in favour? Opposed? Carried. Meeting adjourned at 10:23.